Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, PhotoJoseph, and I am here with Sonora Mindling-Werling, I would say YouTube star and Instagram sensation. I think that's what I wrote in the description.
Getting there, definitely on my way.
Definitely working on that. Well, Sonora is the daughter of a very good friend of mine, Eric Mindling, who has been on this show before. I did a conversation with him, it was last year? I don't know. It was a while ago. But then, of course, I went to Mexico with. So for those of you who saw the workshop in Mexico that we did in Oaxaca at the beginning of this year, that was with Eric, and this is his lovely daughter, who has grown her Instagram following from 0 to...
I think I'm at 69.6 or 0.7 thousand now.
Those are thousands. in a very, very short amount of time. And this is what we're going to talk about. She is an artist. She's a photographer. She wants to... she has taken these images and grown quite a following for herself and built a real lifestyle around it. And this is really what I wanted to talk about. Because I know for a lot of people, this is this big, ethereal, how in the world do I do this kind of a thing? And
yeah,
I figured,
totally.
I've got somebody here who can tell me how she did it, and then I can go copy it myself. So that's the real plan there. We are doing this live for those that are watching live, so thank you very much for those that are participating in the chat already. I see a whole bunch of you in there. We will do our best to monitor the chat. Let me make this a little bit bigger here so my aging eyes can see it. We'll do our best to monitor the chat and answer some questions in there. We will probably kind of go back and forth. We'll have a little conversation, turn to the chat, scroll back and see what's there. So if you ask a question and it doesn't get answered right away, it doesn't mean we're ignoring it. We'll come back to it just as quickly as we can. So is that working? You're so tall. Here, come closer to me a little bit. I think we're getting criticized for our framing in here. I wonder if we should just maybe I could make this shot a little bit wider. This is really unprofessional here, but we're just gonna go for it and try and make this just a little bit wider.
Giant problems.
You're right. It's funny. I had the exact same problem when your dad was in here.
Oh yeah, he's even taller than I am, so.
Is he really?
I can only imagine.
All right, let's see if I can get my head out of the way while I zoom that out a little bit. We're probably going to get some sides of the studio in there, but hopefully it'll still look good on the framing. What you going to do? All right. Live broadcast problems. Is that better? All right, yes.
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
Go.
Let me get this thing out of the way here, because that just looks kind of silly. Let's get that out of the frame. Is that out of the frame now? Barely. It's like still in there a little bit.
The top of my head is out of the frame, but that's okay.
Oh, that's your cup that I'm seeing here, not this. Okay, your cup's okay. We can have that. For those of you who are accustomed to the live shows, the PhotoJoseph Photo Moment shows, you know just how odd these usually are. So this is just par for the course. All right, I think this is better. A little funny thing there. Who cares? We're good. Should we just do this sort of thing?
Let's do it.
Let's do this sort of thing. Okay. So our first question comes up here is a really good question to start off with. What type of photography are you doing? And let's just start with that. Just from the basics, what kind of photography interests you? And then we'll go into the whole social media and what you've done with it.
Sure, sounds good. The photography that I mainly do is really just a blend of a few different things, mostly lifestyle, some landscape, and some portrait. Okay. Because I travel a lot, and so I'm just taking photos of where I am and who I'm with and what I'm doing. So it is kind of a nice synchronicity develops between all of those different things. And so my Instagram feed, for example, is definitely a blend of because I'll go places where there are amazing mountains or lakes, and I obviously take pictures of those, but then I'll also travel with beautiful people and take their portraits, or just take pictures of the back of my car and what my table looks like when I'm doing art, and just all of these just daily life scenes as well.
Okay. So it's not a specific commercial style, or you're trying to do just landscape. It really is your daily life. Mm-hmm. This is just the stuff that you see and do every day.
Yeah, exactly.
But the things that you see and do every day have become quite interesting.
Yeah.
This is why people follow you, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that people follow you, because they want to see what it is that you're doing with your life.
Totally.
So let's back up to the very beginning, because your origins as a human are very interesting. And of course, I know this story, but our audience does not.
Yes.
So from the earliest days, you weren't born here, were you?
Well, actually, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and so that's why my name is Sonora, because my mom would always take long walks in the Sonoran Desert while she was pregnant with me. And so I was born in Phoenix, and then when I was 2 months old, my mom took me down to Mexico where my dad was living at the time. And the next 10 years of my life, I spent living in Oaxaca, Mexico, between these two little towns called Guadalupe Etla and Santo Domingo Barrio Bajo. Out just like in the countryside, the house we built was on a piece of land that used to be an alfalfa field, and there were like farms and stuff all around us, and so I grew up there just running around and climbing trees. And
that's great.
My sister was born there. She was born in Oaxaca. And then when I was 10, we all packed into my dad's big 15-passenger van and drove from Oaxaca, Mexico, which for those of you who don't know, it's like very southern Mexico at the very narrow part before Mexico kind of goes up into the Yucatan Peninsula. That's where Oaxaca is. So we drove all the way from there up to southern Oregon, and I think it took us 2 weeks, and it was a really fun trip.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, and so then I spent all the rest of my school years in southern Oregon until I graduated high school.
Right on here, we're going to pull up Oaxaca on the map for anybody who's not familiar with it. Let's see here. Where are we? Right there. So let's get it right in the middle there, since I can't really point at the screen. Mm-hmm. There's Oaxaca right dead center. And then as we zoom out, you can see where that is. Right on. So this adventure brought you back to the United States.
Yes.
For some reason I was thinking that you were born down there, but like you said, that was your sister was born there. So brought you back to the United States. And I know it became a big career change for your dad and things that he started doing differently here. But this whole growing up there kind of between two worlds has really, really influenced your whole life and your style and everything else.
Absolutely.
And I think, if I remember right, you really started getting into art once you got back here. Is that right?
I mean, I was basically into art since I could like hold a crayon and scribble on a piece of paper. In Mexico, I was homeschooled, and so I had a lot of free time during the day, and I would build like little houses out of sticks and make prints with watercolor and lily pads, and I just had complete creative freedom to do whatever I wanted to. And so that fostered this really healthy imagination and really just strong sense of individuality and self-confidence, and just like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just doing the stuff I like to do. And so then when I came up here and started going to school, I was really lucky because I went to a school. It was called the Willowwind Community Learning Center. Nice. It is on this big piece of land. It used to be a farm. There's like a creek going through it. There's classes like wilderness survival. We learned about sedimentary rocks by making layered Rice Krispie treats, models of the Grand Canyon, stuff like that. So that was also really just creative environment to be in. And so by the time I got to normal public school in high school, I had a solid foundation of just being able to express myself. Okay. And so then after high school, I started really getting into the photography aspect. So
that was going to be the next question. At what point did you get into photography and start really exploring that as your art medium?
I think that my dad actually got me my first just like a little point and shoot camera when I was like 12 or so. Okay. And so I would always do just like fun photo shoots with my friends where we would dress up in clothes we got from Goodwill and go and take like dramatic costumed photo shoots. And then I got myself a Canon Rebel when I was, I think, 14 or 15. And I had that for a while, and then it actually got stolen. And so that was a bummer. But the next camera I had was just a little Sony Nex6, one of the little mirrorless ones. Mm-hmm. And that's the one that I really started using when I started going traveling, which directly after high school, I moved up to Portland and lived there for 6 months, just working a full-time job and doing that stuff. And then the next spring, I took off traveling, and that's when I really started to fall in love with landscape photography and lifestyle photography, and just being able to capture all of these little moments on all of these big and little adventures, whether like a weekend trip with my friend just exploring back roads, or like flying to Europe and exploring around there.
Right. Okay. Great. So now you're living the life. You're bouncing around all over the place. At some point, you graduated high school, and I understand there was an opportunity to go to college. You decided to take a year off.
Yes.
And it was, and I'm probably getting the story all wrong, so she's going to have to correct me here. But I think it was during that time that you really got into Instagram and realized just how good. Whew, I got that right. And realized just what you could do with that and started building up that following. So before we get into that, let me just take a quick scroll here because there are a lot of questions coming up. Which is really great.
Wow, so many people. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, let's quick little shout outs to all these folks in here. So, Old Photo, hello. Sully, I'm glad to see you in here again. Jasmine, hello. John, hello. Lily, you're excited to hear Sonora? I'm excited too. This is awesome. Jasmine, and we've got Martin, and let's see here. Royal Grom, good to see you in here again. And how tall is she? Sahar wants to know how tall you are. How tall are you?
I'm 5'10". That's how tall I am.
There you go. Well, that's tall. She's tall. That's better. That's why I'm going to zoom the camera out. I know. Sorry, David, but we got it. So Jasmine's asking what made you decide to get in photography. I think we talked about that. It's just it was an evolution, and it helps when your dad gives you a camera, right? I mean, that was
totally.
For me. That was a big start too. Was my dad gave me a camera when I was a little kid, and he was photographing all the time, so I was around it, and it just became one of those things you just pick up and start to enjoy because somebody else that you care about is doing it. Lily's asking if you can talk about your tattoos. Is there a time in this story where we can get to that, or should we just jump into that one now?
I'll just do a little quick one of that now. There's not super a lot to talk about. I have 6 tattoos now, but these ones are the biggest ones, and these are kind of like the main ones that everyone asks me about. Of course. And then I don't know if you can see him, but this is a movement spell from Howl's Moving Castle, the Hayao Miyazaki movie. This is an aloe vera plant and the Virgo constellation. And then
aloe vera plant? Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
And I designed this one, and I co-designed these as well with my tattoo artist. And these are just 2 like cicada scarab type things, and the platonic elements for earth and fire on there as well, and these kind of symbolize just transformation and spirit and change. I got these kind of at the beginning of last year, I think. Okay. So that was kind of the beginning of this whole excursion of growth and change and everything. So they're just symbols to keep going and keep that fire but still stay grounded, keep your old part of yourself, but don't let that hold you back from changing into something new.
Excellent.
So
I love it.
That's those ones.
Great. Well, I hope that answers your question, Lily. That's awesome. All right, let's see here. David's asking what camera you're using, so we talked about that. And there's a question from Jordan, about funding, and we'll get into that when we get into the Instagram part of the story a little bit more. Emma loves you. It's always nice to see.
Thank you.
Michelle says she's so inspired by Sonora that you're so genuinely in love with being yourself and doing what makes you happy. I love that. Can't wait to start traveling like you.
Oh my gosh,
that's wonderful,
that's
Michelle.
so sweet.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Hello from Florida. Would love to see you vlog a trip through Mexico. There you go.
I actually was in Mexico this last December, I think, or this just a couple months ago. I was in Mexico on a trip with my dad and sister, and I was vlogging it, and then I was running around this place called Zapotitlan Salinas, and my vlog camera tumbled out of my hand and tumbled down this cliff of rocks, and so now it all works except for the record button, which does nothing. So
that's kind of a problem, isn't it?
So yeah, it's a slight issue. So
that's a slight
yeah,
issue.
working on that one.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
So and someone's asking, are you doing videography as well? And
yes.
You are. She has a significant YouTube channel, and we'll jump over there and preview that a little bit as well, so you can see what that looks like. But you are doing stuff on YouTube. We're going to come to that part of the conversation as we get through the evolution of Instagram and YouTube and how the two things are different and how they play off of each other. At least I hope I can remember that, because that sounds like a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Hello from England. Lawrence, Lily all saying hi. Trevor saying Boston. I love people tell us where they're coming from.
Yeah,
My morning shows
awesome.
people from all over the world. It's so much fun. Michelle is a Virgo and loves the tattoos. There you go.
Very cool.
And look at this. Hannah Wilson says, hi Sonora, I went to high school with you, and it's been amazing how much you've grown on Instagram.
Oh my
You're such
gosh.
an inspiration.
That's awesome.
That is so cool. That is so cool. And then people asking about the money while traveling. So that's all part of what we're going to get into. So let's now move the conversation into Instagram itself, because that has become kind of the bedrock of what you do today, and allows you to do what you do and live the life that you live.
Totally.
So when did you first start posting on Instagram? Was it during that gap year, or was it before that you got involved?
Oh man, I first got my Instagram like freshman year of high school, and I think I had 500 followers for the next like 5 years.
Okay,
Just
so pretty like most people. Then.
Yeah, exactly. I just posted pictures of like my lunch and tea and stuff like that. And then the last year of high school, I started taking better pictures and posting better pictures on Instagram, largely because the camera I had at that time, my Sony Nex 6, had a Wi-Fi transfer straight to my phone, so I just pop those over to my phone, do a quick edit on Visco, and then just put them up. And then what really got me into Instagram was I met this kid. His name is Andrew Kearns. Probably a lot of you guys, if you follow me, a lot of people have found me through him and stuff. So he was like this awesome photographer he did vlogs also and did like landscape photography and all this cool stuff. And so I sent him a message on Instagram. I was like, hey, if you're ever in the Rogue Valley, like we should shoot. It would be awesome. Because he was like traveling around. He was in Portland at that time. And so he came down and we shot and like ended up getting along really well. And we're like, oh, cool. Like we're buds now.
Cool.
And then I met him again. Me and my friend went on a hike with him and another friend in Portland.
Where is he based?
He, right now, oh gosh.
Okay, all right, that's okay.
All over the place. He travels more than I do.
Okay.
So I went on a hike with them before leaving on my 8-week Europe trip. And so then I went off and was traveling around all these different countries in Europe, just backpacking. And at this point, it was just using money that I'd saved from working full-time for 6 months. And just like backpacking and staying in hostels and doing that. And then at one point, I think I was in Austria or Slovenia, I think, and he texts me. He sends me a message saying, hey, you're going to be in Iceland at the end of the month, right? Because I was going back through Iceland for a few days before coming back to the States. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, if I flew over and like got us a deal with a car company, would you want to like travel around Iceland and take photos? And I was like, let's think. Yeah, if you twist my arm, I guess I will.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so then I met up with him in Iceland and we spent 11 days. He got like a deal on this Land Rover Defender. And so we just like got 2 pieces of plywood to put in the back and just slept in the back of the car or on top of the car if it was nice and just traveled around. And he's the one who really got me into the whole like actually using Instagram, because he at that point had I think like 250 or 300,000 followers. So he was like a big Instagrammer and also had a YouTube channel, and he vlogged the whole trip. And so that's really what kind of put my name on the map, because like the Iceland vlogs became kind of iconic in terms of like his whole thing. And then because we were traveling together for so long, I was just like showing up on his feed a lot. And so people like started seeing my feed. And by then I had all these cool pictures from my Europe trip as a foundation. And so that's what really like started it off. And he also like told me all about like how he does Instagram and like makes money through Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So he was kind of like this guru, this like Yoda figure. He's like 22 or something, so not really like a Yoda figure, but it seemed like this all-knowing, just like, wow, okay, so he's got his life together.
Yeah.
And so we became really good friends on the Iceland trip, and he just kind of like helped me along. And then we like traveled a lot more when we got back to the States, because like, you know, when you travel with someone, either you get along or you don't. So we got along super well, and so we're like, okay, well, you're a good model, you're a good photographer, like, it's cool, let's keep traveling around.
So in the Yoda-esque inspiration and education on Instagram, what couple of things did he tell you that you could hopefully share with our audience here that were really key, maybe even light bulbs in your head to say, okay, this is what I've got to do? Is it the type of photo, what the photo's of? Is it the consistency? Is it the hashtags? What is it that allows you to post and get those followers, as opposed to like most of us, maybe 1 or 2 new followers a day, and most of them are spam bots anyway?
Yeah. So what it really comes down to, and what he told me are the most important things are consistency and quality. So he posts 2 times a day. Even in Iceland, he would because the time difference, he would be waking up at 5 in the morning so he could post, and it would go out at a certain time in the morning here.
So is the consistency not only twice a day, but at the same time a day? That makes a big difference.
Same time. He posts at 8 or 9 in the morning, and then at 8 or 9 at night. Twice a day, almost every single day. And so I started doing that, posting twice a day. And then just the quality of your photos, just taking good photos, taking photos of new things, keeping the pictures that you upload fresh and interesting, and also not you don't have to just take the same picture of that one waterfall in the Pacific Northwest with a flannel and a little hat that everyone has posted, and those pictures are awesome, those are great, but not being scared to do your own thing and just post pictures of what you're interested in, because I think that people can really tell if you're just posting for the sake of posting, or posting something that's really that you had fun doing, or that was a good moment, and that you captured an emotion or a moment or a feeling or any of those things.
So posting twice a day is obviously can be a challenge, right? And if you're not traveling, it's easy when you're on a trip, right? I'm on a trip for 10 days. I'm creating tons of images. I want to be posting 20 times a day because there's so much good stuff that I'm creating, and I want to do that. But okay, well, it's a 2-part question. So would you post more than those 2 a day? And that's a minimum, or you go, no, I'm only posting 2, no matter how much I've got, and I'm going to save those for later?
He would only post 2 and save those for later.
Okay.
And I'd say if you can only post 1 a day, that's also fine, but just be putting your stuff out there to the audience every day or as often as you can. Okay. And then, a lot of times I'll post more than twice a day if I've done a really fun shoot or, have a bunch of good photos, because I don't have very good self-control. But then, a few days later, I'm oh, geez, I don't have anything. My reserves are dry. I'm all out of photos. And so then I'll, dig back through and find other cool ones that I haven't posted yet.
Okay. So I think then that pretty much answers the second part of the question, is what do you do when you're not actively traveling, you're taking a weekend at home, you're just not. Yeah. And so then it is posting those reserves. Now, do you try to maintain any kind of chronological order? Let's say, Iceland. Say you're in Iceland for a week. Obviously, you shot a bunch. You're going to be home for a couple of weeks. Are you going to post just Iceland for those next couple of weeks? Or during that time when you're not actively traveling, you're going to throw in pictures from other trips and save some of those Iceland ones for later in the year and just really mix up the timeline?
Andrew is really big on, he likes his photos to be in chronological order, so he just posts of whatever trip he went, and a little after the trip he'll post of the trip still, but the next thing he does he'll post that. For me, I mainly post chronologically, but also I take so many photos when I'm on trips and don't post all of them, so there's still a bunch of pictures that I have that I want to get out there, and so I'll bring those back and be oh yeah, remembering this moment, remembering this place, so I'm not super strict about my feed being chronological.
Okay. This is one of my personal challenges with it, is I'll be on a trip, like when I was in Mexico with your dad in the workshop, and you get very limited intermittent internet access, and so I'd prep up a bunch of pictures and then I'd push 8 of them out at once, which is clearly the totally wrong thing to be doing. But it's I feel I want to share the pictures as it's happening as much as I can. Totally. And if that means an hour later, 2 hours later, that's just kind of annoying. I want to share right now what I'm doing. But I guess it does take some discipline, and there's an advantage to that, just holding back on that. I guess to the audience, they don't really care whether this just happened or happened a week ago. The fact is, they're seeing the image, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, totally.
That's an important part of it. I gotta break that one down. Do that just a couple times a day and not more, because I will flood my feed because I now have access. I've got all these pictures. I want to push them out there. But then the next couple of weeks, I'm going, what am I going to post? What am I doing? I'm just sitting here. No one wants to see. You guys see this every day. You don't need to see an Instagram of this. But okay, well, I got to save the pictures. Okay.
Yeah. Also, what happens with me is I will go on a trip or do a photo shoot, and I'm super excited about those, and I'll post a few and be stoked about them, and then I get bored. I'm okay, so I did this, what's the next thing I'm going to be doing? What am I going to be pushing myself to do next? How can I improve on these photos? So that's what often happens to me, is I'll just be done with whatever set I did and just want to move on to the next thing and get better at whatever it is that I'm working on.
Well, along those lines, what would you say? Most people aren't traveling as much as you are.
Yeah.
Right. And if they get one trip a year, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to build up their Instagram followers. But they're not going to all these cool exotic places.
Yeah.
What should they be posting every day?
Whatever it is that you're doing. Like, for the past few months, I haven't really, or not few months, but for a while, I haven't really been going on a bunch of like big trips. But like, it doesn't matter really if you're going somewhere amazing just as much as if you're like just getting out and shooting. That was another thing that he said every day is that he said as advice is to get out and shoot every day, even if it's just iPhone pictures of like the corner of the 7-Eleven where you're getting snacks, or like whatever it is that you're doing in a day, get out and shoot, because that will motivate you to like do something interesting, and it will motivate you to get better at your photography. And it's just practice. Photography, as anything else, takes practice. It's just like going to the gym and working out. Like, you go and work out every day, and then eventually you start to like see your muscles
results,
growing.
yeah.
You start to see your photos getting better. And that's like the greatest feeling, when you see actual improvement in this thing that you've been like grinding and working on like for so long.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
shooting regularly is absolutely key, and that's just general advice, Instagram or not, just as photography, of course, as many of you obviously know, you just gotta keep doing it over and over again. Like any art, any skill, playing the piano, whatever it is, you just gotta keep doing it, and that's how you get better. Even if it is just boring stuff. Okay, all I've got is my backyard. Well, go out in the backyard and find something interesting.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a blade of grass you haven't photographed out there yet. Go find it.
Yeah, totally.
Right, very good.
And like me, one more thing. Before I started going and traveling to all these places, like me and my friend, every time I was working a full-time job just back in my little town of like 20,000 people or whatever, just at a little boutique store. But every time I had a weekend, or every time that I could like make myself get up early, I would just go out and like shoot a sunrise and then come back and go to work, or just go out on my weekend and spend like all day just driving around back roads with my friend, just taking pictures, just like, if it's something that you really want to be doing, you will make time to do it, and you will like be able to find moments to do it, because that's what like makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. All right, well, let's go through some of these comments and questions here, because there's a lot flowing by. Let's see. So Rafael says, just joined. Come and have a blast in Aruba. Hey, why not?
I mean,
why not?
I guess.
Aruba sounds great. Amanda Walker, you may cover this once you talk about Instagram a little more in depth, but how do you decide what other artists to collaborate with? Do you see value in collaboration? Well, that is great. Let's just do that right now.
Yeah.
Let's hit that. So collaboration, is it, well, first off, second part of the question, is it valuable?
Definitely. Yeah. Collaboration is so good. This past year, like, most of the new friends I've made this past year have been people I've met through Instagram, who I've like been in the same area with, or like hit up to shoot, or they've hit me up to shoot, and we've met, and then actually like they're super cool people and we've become friends. And surrounding yourself with people, or going and collaborating with people who are like working hard at what they're doing, is like the most inspiring thing that you can do. I always, whenever I hang out with one of them, they'll be like up editing, or like wake up at 4 a.m. to go shoot. I'm like, oh wow, man, okay, gosh, I gotta work on like being more motivated in my own life. But yeah, there's so many people out there doing great things, and collaborations are like a really good way to meet new people, see new creative styles, get inspired. And as for how I decide who to collaborate with, it's honestly just if I like their work or not. Like, it doesn't really depend on how many followers they have or whatever. It like is if I'm really into their work. And it's hard because a lot of times I'll travel somewhere, and like if I let people know where I'm going, a bunch of people will be like, hey, like, you're coming through here, let's shoot. Like, hey, it would be awesome to meet up. And like, I want to meet up with all those people, but I'm usually already busy, or like not even have time to see the friends I already have in that area. And it's just like, it's hard. But so if I really like someone's work, then I'll definitely be like, yeah, your stuff is great. Like, I would love to work together. Okay,
cool. Yeah, that's huge. And there's always going to be people with more followers and with fewer followers than you. So no matter who you're collaborating with, Obviously, the primary thing is to have a good time and to create great image, create great work. But ultimately, everybody is trying to get their follower count up, and that's it's a consideration. That's what people are going to think about. And so, if you're working with someone, if you're at 60,000, you're working with someone with 5 million. Clearly, that's going to be good for you. Meanwhile, if someone's got 5,000 and working with you at 60, that's going to be good for them.
Yeah, totally.
And there's a lot of give and take in there for sure. That's great. That's very cool. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Martin asks, do you find social media a help to your career? Well, I think at this point, social media kind of is your career.
Yeah, it basically is my career. I haven't had a normal job since last July.
Wow.
I've just been completely supporting myself off of doing advertisements for companies and sponsored work and photography and art. Also, I have an little art thing which I sell stickers and prints and drawings.
Right, and I've seen those on your. Well, you've shared them on Instagram before. Yeah. I see. Yep, that's awesome. Here, I'm gonna bring up your Instagram feed because someone's asking what it is, and I realized we never told anybody what your handle is. So let me see if I can.
Sonora TMW.
Yeah, Sonora PMW T.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Teresa Mindling-Werling. There we go. Okay, let's bring this up on the screen. So there, folks, is her Instagram, Sonora TMW. You can grab that, head on over there, and start following her right now. Let's see how many extra followers we can get you. 69.7K followers. That is impressive for sure. Right on. Let's go through some more of these comments in here. What are your goals from the year? Oh, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Actually,
much love from Phoenix. Thank you, Shikana.
I
hope I'm saying that right.
My biggest goal for this year, I'm moving up to Portland this month, and I'm actually starting tattoo school in Portland this year, so I'm going to be getting my tattoo license. And I now have a 5-year plan for the first time since I started this whole thing, which is kind of exciting. But basically, I want to get my tattoo license so that I have just a stable thing, which won't leave me stranded if the internet stops working or whatever, if I my Instagram account gets hacked, because that is the thing, is all of my income basically depends on my Instagram and YouTube following, so it's kind of okay, don't have a backup. But so I want to go to tattoo school, get my tattoo license, and then get a traveling tattoo license so I can travel to places, be a guest tattoo artist for a few months, and do photography trips at the same time.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's neat.
Yeah. So that's my
I don't think
goal.
I even knew you had to have a license to tattoo. Shows that I know. That's wow. Okay, that's really interesting. Because I was going to ask that question, but you just answered it. Is how is this tattoo school going to affect your traveling lifestyle? But clearly,
hopefully
you've got a plan for that.
That's
fantastic. Very exciting. Very cool. That's a pretty good goal for the year. All right, let's see here. Jasmine Zigmont says, "What kept you going with doing what you love, even though it maybe seemed not to work out in the beginning?" I'm talking about being self-employed and your situation as an artist and doing sponsorships.
That's definitely a really good question.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to just give up because it's never an easy start. It's not like you wake up one morning and there's 50,000 followers.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. If you do it, it's probably for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, totally. That is definitely a thing that is one of the biggest struggles of doing what I do, is just because there will be really slow times where I don't get any work from companies for a few weeks, and then I'm okay, I don't have any money, this is not fun. But I think that in those times I'm okay, what can I do to change things up? Who can I meet up with and shoot with to just get a fresh take on things? What kind of art can I be doing just to get a little bit of income coming in? Because that's I'm so thankful that I have my little art website, and so whenever I'm don't have money, I just make a bunch of drawings and sell those on there, and it's kind of this really nice thing to know that I can create something in the physical world which people are interested in and want to buy, which also helps me.
Of course.
But I think otherwise those are definitely the times that test you as a creative and as an artist and as being self-employed, when it gets tough and not easy and things aren't coming in towards you. And I think you just have to remember why you like doing what you're doing, because if you don't like it enough, then you'll give up. But if you do like it, you'll know that this is what really makes me happy. This is what makes me feel like I'm alive. This isn't going to work every day from 9 to 5 and being hey, how's it going? Your price will be $18.50 for this. It's actually on that whole thing. So yeah, I think that if it's something that you really want to do, you'll be able to just work through those rough times.
Having the financial part is obviously a huge thing. I mean, it's great to have this idea of a lifestyle like this, and it's great to go out and do it, but somebody's got to pay for it. The money has to come from somewhere. And like you're saying, if you haven't had any actual sponsorship type jobs coming in a while, you got to make some money somewhere else. And it's great that you have that. You have that art, the ability to sell your art online, and having multiple income streams is enormously huge.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for a long time, and I have many different income streams because I know that they come and go all the time. You know, a client that you might make a lot of money on last year might end up making almost none on it this year, and if that was your only client, you got problems.
Yeah.
So having that diversified income is incredibly important.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay. Let's see here. Gonna check your Instagram. Be right back. Okay, well, hopefully you're back by now. Let's see here. Miyamor says, I love Andrew's vlog with you. That's actually how I found your YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Yanis says hi from Germany. Hey, Yanis. Lily says she found you through Andrew as well. Very cool. And same from Lawrence. Look at all that. That's great. Nice photo, Sonora, Sully says. Thank you, Sully, for checking that out. See, Sunny from Ottawa, Canada. I just switched to mirrorless and wondered if you felt that the quality of your photos suffered, or are they just as good as the full frame DSLR?
I just sold my Sony Nex6 camera to my little sister, actually, and got myself a used Canon 5D Mark II.
Really?
And so it's been interesting because I've been thinking a lot about that, and I think that the next camera that I would get would be another Sony. The Canon, I absolutely love the tones and the image quality of it. But the Sony, I love how light it is and how easy it is to like transfer the photos across, and you can do like self-timer from your phone. And like, I had a Sony for all of my travels in Europe, all of my travels around the United States last year, like all of these things. And then only just recently did I get the Sony's, the Canon, I mean. So I think that a Sony is like absolutely a great camera.
Why did you switch to the Canon then, if you were so happy with the Sony before?
Oh, just because I think mainly it was because like everyone that I was traveling with, they all had Canons. They all like Canon Mark IIIs, and it's the tones, it's the image tones, like the raw image tones, which really made me switch, because I would like borrow one of their cameras and take a picture of the same thing that I had taken a picture of, and the Sony just has like, I don't really know how to describe it, but the Canons just have like a really nice picture coloration, kind of, which I really like. So that's pretty much it.
Well, after this, we're going to talk a little bit about my cameras, the Panasonic Lumix cameras that I love.
Cool.
I'm not going to beat you over the head with that now. This audience has seen a lot of that or heard a lot of that already, but I think that the Sony is a great camera. If you weren't getting the colors out of it, you know, who knows? I don't know. I've never really shot Sony, but I think the advantages of mirrorless, forgetting the brand, just mirrorless over mirrored, for the kind of thing that you're doing is huge.
Yeah,
and
mirrorless is so nice.
To answer the quality question, I mean, I talk about this all the time on my channel, so check out the PhotoJoseph Photo Moments. You can see all kinds of stuff about mirrorless, but I'm obviously a true believer in mirrorless, and yeah, I think you'll find your way back there eventually.
Yeah, I'm definitely like leaning that way. Next time I have an extra.
Especially if you're doing
cash.
Both video and stills, it's really
So
really
nice.
lots of advantages to it. Alrighty, Lucas says hello, cutie. I don't know if Lucas knows you or not, but there you go. Ul says, why are you drawing? I think it probably means what are you drawing. Tell us a little bit about what the drawings are that you do on your art that you sell, and while you're answering that, I'm gonna look for a couple of other questions.
Okay, cool. The art that I do is definitely inspired just by the natural world. I really like drawing kind of the juxtaposition between living plants and then like the bones of animals, or just like things like that. I just really like creating pieces that interweave all of the aspects of like living and dying and that whole cycle and just things like that. And I really love insects and animals for my art, so just like yeah, exactly that whole thing. Yeah, I don't know, I just draw whatever inspires me. And like my mom's a botanist, so a lot of plant books were just lying around as a kid, and my mom would always get me like books about animals and bugs and stuff, so that was definitely like a solid foundation. And then just so much time I spend in nature, just walking around the woods and things like that, that's definitely where I get most of my art inspiration from.
Yeah. It's a nice way to grow up. It's a good way to start things off. Very good. Cool. Okay, so a couple of questions on here, or more just observations. Someone says, Rafael says, I post every other day to squeeze it in, gaining at least 4 followers. No bots after the photos. That's great. Lucky. How do you manage that? Also, it takes a lot not to just post junk. It's really hard because working at home is cool, but hurts the flow. And yeah, if you're, yeah, that's fair, right? If you're at home all the time, you're not traveling, you're just whatever you're doing at home, whether you're programming or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be hard. You're not getting out. So that does make it a real challenge. And then you have to force yourself out. And if you can't do it every day, at least go out once or twice a week. But you have to. It's the only way that you can improve your art.
And honestly, if you just go out and like make yourself get up early and go out somewhere to shoot a sunrise and then come back, like you still have the entire day ahead of you, and you've like now gone and done that.
You've done something, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Lucas says, I would really like to have a nice account on Instagram, but I can't travel much and I don't have a camera. Any advice to taking good pics with my phone?
I think that phone pictures are actually like a picture. I mean, obviously the quality of your camera matters to a certain extent, but also what will make a picture really good is just your eye and just like what you think of taking pictures of and just like what you capture. So like a lot of times I just take photos with my iPhone when I like don't have my big camera with me, and it's just taking pictures of things that interest you or engage you or like would be engaging to other people, I guess. Yeah,
I think when it comes to iPhone photography or Android, whatever you're, smartphone photography, they are incredible. The cameras that are built on them are absolutely insane these days. They're really, really good. Clearly, there are advantages and quality differences when you go up to the bigger cameras. But that isn't, as you said, that is not the most important part of it. And I always tell people to talk about, oh, well, you must have a really nice camera. Like, no, it has nothing to do with the camera that I have. You could put a $50,000 medium format camera into the hands of someone who's not a photographer, and then put a 5-year-old iPhone into the hands of a really good photographer, and guess who's going to get a better picture? Right? It really is about that experience and capability.
I just saw this like YouTube video where it's like they give these really like great professional photographers like a Fisher Price camera.
I've seen that. Oh, it's so much fun.
And they still create amazing stuff. So it's not the camera you have, it's how you use it.
Yeah,
is what it really comes down to.
Absolutely. And then the old adage, the best camera in the world is the one you have with you.
Exactly.
Right. If all you got is your smartphone, hey, you know what? That thing is good. And there's a lot of education available out there to how to get better pictures with your smartphone. Just search YouTube, go to lynda.com. There's all kinds of stuff out there. And there are a lot of things you can do to get better pictures with your phone than just, pick it up and snap a picture. Think about it a little bit. But it's no different than any other camera. You still have to go through the same thought process. Framing, lighting, composition, all of that is still incredibly important, and maybe even a little bit more so when you're shooting with an iPhone, because you don't have some of the other advantages like shallow depth of field that you have with a big lens. But you know what? With an iPhone, if you get really close to something, you still get shallow depth of field. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, it does make a difference. Just because you have all you have is an iPhone or a smartphone, whatever you've got, it shouldn't limit your photography in the slightest. Absolutely not. And look at some of the Apple ads. Some of the Apple ads shot on iPhone. Oh my God! Some of those are incredible images, and they're all shot on iPhone.
They're amazing.
So it's pretty phenomenal. And it's not to say that you can't do that with any of the other smartphones out there. The Pixel 1 or Google Pixel, whatever it's called. I know that one's got it. There's a lot of fantastic ones out there. So don't worry about it. Martin Pitt says, for someone so young, Sonora, you're very inspiring.
Thank you. Thanks, Martin.
I agree. David Cross, absolutely, wouldn't it be lovely to make a decent living from what we love? Well, that's what we're all trying to do, isn't it, David? This is get her on Lumix, Joseph. It's one of my regulars. Don't worry, David. I got this. And someone else saying, yeah, I get a Lumix. I get slightly biased following.
Sure, okay.
Valeria says, you are my inspiration since one of my biggest goals is to travel and make a living from what I love. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
It's to be able to do that is fantastic. David's saying beat her over the head. Okay, David, I'll get there. Don't worry about it. Michelle, daughter of the woods, says, hey, from Finland. Oh, fantastic. Do you think it is more about the camera you use or the editing or just about the photographer? What do you think is the most important thing to do to great photos? Love to you too. Oh, thank you. So I think we've talked about the camera part of it, but let's talk about the editing a little bit. How much editing do you do to your photos before they go to Instagram?
Yeah, totally. And actually, I just started following Michelle, daughter of the woods, on Instagram, and I just wanted to say that your stuff is awesome. I really like all your photos.
Let's see. I'm gonna look you up and give you a little shout out on here if I can find you.
Really good stuff. I usually Well, so I use Lightroom to edit my photos. I used to be
Okay.
like really into Photoshop and do like a ton of stuff on Photoshop, but then I figured out how to use Lightroom and it's just so much faster and easier. And so what I've done is I've developed a bunch of presets for myself. My friend gave me the like VSCO presets, and so I have those and I use 2 of them, I think, out of like all of the ones they have. But I've developed...
These are the VSCO presets for Lightroom.
But
yeah. Oh, there's some really good ones.
Yeah, there's some nice ones. But yeah, I just like messed around with photos enough that I found that I was like doing the same thing to get the thing I like brightening the highlights a little, or just like making the greens a little more yellow. And so I developed just presets, and so now most of my edits are just like 1, 2, like 3 or 4 steps. Like one step is just like I'll apply the preset and then mess around with the shadows and light a little bit, and then pretty much that's like all I do.
Okay.
And then if it's like something that I want to go a little more in depth in, then I'll like obviously get more in there and mess around with things and maybe put it into Photoshop. But mostly it's just like a really basic figuring out the tones that I want to bring out and things I like. And a bunch of my friends like have their presets available for sale, and so I've like gotten some of those, which is also interesting just to see what other people do, and then you can look at like how they do it and take inspiration from that.
That's actually huge, and I just did an article on my site on the photoapps.expert about this. Presets are a great way to learn how to get certain colors, certain tones, certain whatever's out of an image. It can be daunting using an app like Lightroom or Capture One or Photoshop, whatever you're using. And you look at someone's images and go, I love this look. How the heck do I get there? But if you can find a preset, apply the preset, and then look at, this is what they did to the curves, this is what they did to the highlights.
Yeah.
It can be huge. And the VSCO ones are quite counterintuitive. You look through them and you're going, wait, the highlights are pulled way down. What's happening? This is really weird. But yeah, they do work. So you're doing the majority or all of your editing even on the computer. Are you doing any on your phone? Just Wi-Fi over? I guess not with the Canon now, you can't. But when you had the Sony, would you Wi-Fi them over? You said you used the VSCO app, but were you... Is that still something you like to do, or is it now you really just focus on doing it on the computer?
If I don't have my computer, then I'll still use my phone. The VSCO app is great, and also this app called Polar, which is Polerr, I think.
Polarr, with 2 R's at the end.
Yeah, that's it. It's super great.
We did a whole podcast with them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so good. You can do like get in there and do so much stuff with like levels and masks and just all kinds of things. So those are the 2 apps that I use if I'm editing on my phone, and those like work pretty dang well also.
Yeah, they're incredible. They're incredible. Okay, here we found Daughter of the Woods' Instagram account, so let's just throw that up there for anyone who wants to follow that. 53,000 followers. Pretty good. There, you're almost catching up to Sonora. Almost. But that's beautiful. That's some beautiful work in there. And consistent tones across, and this is something that I see on a lot of accounts where people have this level of followers, which is to say a lot more than I do. Having that very consistent look to the images all the way through, it helps. Yeah, I think it does make a big difference there. Very good. All right, Yasmin's asking, have you ever thought about visiting Germany? Also, what countries do you still want to visit in your life? So you've been to Germany?
Gosh, no, I haven't. I think I've been to 19 countries so far in my life. And the ones I still want to visit, there are so many.
Okay, so number 1, someone drops a bunch of money in your lap, pick any spot in the world to go, get on a plane. Today, where are you going?
Oh gosh, I think it would be a very close tie between either Nepal or Norway. Those are like 2 really at the top of my list.
2 radically different places that both start with the letter N. Okay, got it.
So those are
very cool.
up there.
Right on. Okay. All right, let's see here. Cycle of Life, she's talking about the drawings there, so we're falling behind on the chats here. If you ever come to Syracuse in Italy, I'll show you around, and then I'll hug you. Someone whose handle is my name is Jason Felix. I like that. It's not just Jason Felix. My handle is my name is Jason Felix.
I wonder what his name is, though.
I do wonder. I have no idea what his name is. Where is your favorite place you've ever visited? Why? And love your work, by the way. Oh, yeah. Favorite place you visited.
It's a 3-way tie between the Highlands of Scotland, Iceland, and New Zealand. Wow. All 3 of those places, like, blew my mind. They were so beautiful and for so many different ways. Like, Scotland is just... like the misty moors and the high, like the sloping hills and everything and all just red and orange grass, and oh gosh, I loved it so much. I want to go back there really bad. Cool. And then Iceland is just like a completely different world. You go there and you're like, am I still on Earth? Because it feels like I'm in this like primordial landscape of just like crazy rock formations and giant waterfalls and just like beautiful fjords and just like all kinds of stuff. I want to go back there really bad also.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you something. This is not going to be good for I'm about to move to Portland thing, but I just got a alert. You follow this website, Secret Flying or Secret Flyer? Yeah, right? You got that? Yeah. San Francisco to Iceland. It's like $260 round trip right now.
Oh man, last winter I saw a round trip for or I think it was one way for $99 to Iceland. I wanted to go so bad.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at that airfare going, I don't know. I think I've never been, so it may have to happen.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It may have to happen. Raphael's telling us the Pro Photographer cheap camera from Digital Rev. Yeah, that's the show you're talking about where you give a pro photographer that old crappy Fisher Price camera. Yeah, it's a great. So good. I haven't seen it in ages. I gotta look it up again. Somehow I haven't seen that in a long time. Okay, we gotta pile through these questions here. I can imagine that countless people tell you things like that, but if you ever go to Austria again, I'd be happy if we shot together. From Angelica.
That's cool.
Excellent, Angelica. Jordan Boy saying iPhone 7 portrait mode. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, isn't it? There you get your shallowed up the field. It does work out really well. What is your phone? Is it you shooting with an iPhone over there?
7 Plus.
7 Plus. There you go. You got that portrait mode. Super cool. Andre says, I used Canon for 30 years. My transfer to Lumix was the best thing in my photography in years. I'm a happy child again. Well, there you go.
Dang, man.
You go. So, see, I'm telling you.
Wow.
All right. Daughter of the Woods, thank you so much. Thank you for your sweet answer. Any tips on being more creative? I think you just got to do it.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
Just got to get out there and do it. Westrake saying you may like the Sony A7 II. Definitely an excellent camera as well. Raphael, I'm also moving from Canon to Lumix partially thanks to you, Joseph. Awesome. It's been really the best source of information to help me make the final decision to buy. Well, thank you. I'm glad. Mikol says, sorry for the bad English, but I wanted to ask you a few things. Do you have any suggestions on growing your following on Instagram? Well, this is a big part of what we've been talking about. So if you missed the beginning part of it, you'll be able to watch this again later on YouTube as well. But the biggest number one thing just seems to be consistency.
Consistency.
Post consistently. Okay, so we're getting more questions about the sponsorship, which we haven't even gotten into yet, and we are running into an hour of doing this already. So let's talk about sponsorship.
Yeah.
Just how does that even work? How do you get someone to pay you to go to really cool places and take pictures of you holding their product or whatever it is that you're doing? How does that even work?
Well, actually, that's a great question, and I don't even know the answer myself totally.
If you let me know.
With sponsorships, I'm really just like figuring it out as I go along. Traveling with people who are a lot bigger in Instagram than me has like helped a lot because they kind of have it a little more figured out. But basically, so like, my friend Sam Elkins, he has, I think, like 650,000 followers on Instagram or something, and he gets like huge gigs with like, he has an agency, and so his agency finds the things for him. But for me, what usually happens is like, I haven't had like a company pay me to go somewhere and like photograph their product or anything yet. All of the trips that I've gone on so far, I've like paid for the tickets myself and all of that stuff, and then just like the jobs or things that either like in Iceland with Andrew got jobs, and so I just like modeled for a couple of them and then got like a modeling fee from that. And then mostly a company will just reach out to me and be like, hey, like, we love your feed. Would you be interested in like a collaboration? And then I'm like, yeah, your stuff is great. Like, what I try to do is only collaborate with companies that I am actually interested in their products. So like
that helps. Yeah.
Like a power weightlifting smoothie mix. If they asked me to collaborate, I would be like, no, that's not really my thing. But if it's something that I'm interested in, or like sometimes companies which I've actually like looked up their products before thinking about buying will hit me up, and then I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. But so then they'll be like, hey, do you want to collaborate? And I'll be like, yeah, I don't do work for free or product trade or any of that, however, but I can send you my rates. I use Social Blue Book, which you just attach to your Instagram and YouTube, and it kind of tallies your followers and comments and likes, and then gives you like, this is how much you should charge for a post, or this is how much you should charge for a shout out in a video versus a full video.
Really?
Or like stuff. Yeah, it's so helpful, because otherwise I'd really have no idea.
Well, that's incredible. I didn't. Maybe I have heard of this. Let me pull it up on here. I'll throw it up on the big screen. Here we go. So Social Blue Book. Know your worth for branded content.
Yeah. So then I just send them a link to that.
Okay, and it tells you, wow. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm signing up for this as soon as we're done here. That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So that helps you to name a price, and that's obviously that's the hardest part. I mean, even to know what is any kind of creative. What do you charge is the hardest question ever to answer. So this is great to have that thing that just ties it to your followers, your likes, everything else, like you said.
And it's kind of hard because a lot of companies don't really take like it seriously, or will try and get you to do work for free for them and stuff like that, which is a big problem because there's a lot of people who just like aren't informed on how much their work is worth and stuff like that, who will just be like, oh yeah, if you send me this product, I'll totally post on my account for free. Right.
And that's for photographers as well, just straight up as photography. You know, I want you to I need a portrait. Right? Okay, what do you charge? I charge this. Well, my neighbor will do it for $50, or I have a camera, I can just do it myself. Exactly. And then you got someone who's doing it for next to nothing or free, and it
so
really devalues the rest of the market. And it's really hard to stick to it and say, no, I charge this. I don't care that they're doing it for next to free or free. If you want me to do it, this is what you have to pay. And that personal value is incredibly important. And that seems like that's exactly what this is, because this value is not the going rate for an Instagram post. It is the going rate for you, your follower count, your like count, your interaction, all of that calculated together. That's incredibly cool. All right, I definitely am going to check that out. Now, okay, and I don't want you to get any kind of numbers, but at your following rate, your 60,000, it's almost 70,000 followers, if you were getting regular sponsorship, and I don't know if that means once a week, once a month, every day, whatever it is, could you make a living? Is there enough money coming through at that level of followers, or do you look at it and say, well, when I get to a 250,000 followers, that's when I can actually make a living doing this?
I mean, I am like almost at the point where I can like make a living just from, so a lot of times once you send them like, this is my rates, they just like won't respond, or they're like, oh, we can't really like do paid collaborations right now, sorry. And so it's a lot of just back and forth for getting nothing out of it. But so once in a while, I usually get like 2 or 3 paid jobs a month from Instagram. And so then that's what I make like a big chunk of my income out of doing. But I'm like constantly in negotiation with like 3 or 4 companies, because I get emails from companies every single day being like,
really? Yeah,
basically every day being just like, hey, this is our product, are you interested in a collaboration?
Do you put something on your Instagram profile that says, contact me for collaborations?
I have my email on my Instagram profile,
But do you call out specifically, say, hey, if you want to collaborate, give me a call? Or is it just people look at your feed and they see,
people look at me,
and they just figure out that you must collaborate or must be into it?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, so with 60,000, 70,000 followers, that's with 3-4 a month, maybe one more month, and you've got it. You're good. That's inspiring.
Yeah, and also it depends. Also, like it comes in waves. And what I've found is like once I start like doing a few collaborations and posting that, like it will up the amount of offers that I get, which I don't know how it works, but I feel like it works somehow. Like they're like, oh, she's doing collaborations. Okay, we're gonna like reach out to her.
Right.
So it just like it comes in waves sometimes, and sometimes like I won't get an email for like a whole week, but usually it's definitely starting to pick up now also. And I think the consistency definitely plays into that also. If you're posting good content every day, people will like see that and see that you're doing new and interesting things like that.
Interesting.
And also, like, I'll reach out to companies sometimes. Like, if I'm going on a trip, I'll be like, hey, I'm doing this Montana trip or whatever. Are you interested in, like, on doing a bit of a sponsorship for this? And we'll give you, like, X amount of photos and X amount of posts and that kind of thing.
So reaching out to former clients?
Usually new companies, just if I'm, like, really interested in them. And so sometimes they'll respond, and most of the time they, like, won't.
Sure. But, well, how do you go about... for someone who's watching this going, okay, well, I want to do that. I'm going on this trip and I love this particular sunglasses company. How do you go about reaching out to them? Are you reaching out to them via social media, going to the website and looking for a press contact?
I'll usually do both. Like I'll reach out if they have an Instagram, I'll like send them a message on there, and then I'll like follow up by sending a message to their like website also, just to like hit both bases kind of. And I'll usually just say something along the lines of like, hey, my name is Sonora Mindling-Werling. I am like a photographer and artist traveling around the Pacific Northwest right now, and I'm about to do this trip through like these national parks, and I really love your company and the products you create, and I think that our aesthetics go really well together, and I could really see myself creating some great images with your products. I was wondering if you would be interested in working on a collaboration with me on this trip. And then
P.S. not for free.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then I would link them to like my Social Blue Book page and my Instagram and YouTube and that stuff, just to show them like, this is my stuff. This is what I have to offer and how much I charge.
Okay. Very cool. Very, very good advice. Alrighty. Let's get through a couple more questions here. John Lakatis. Sorry, John, if I'm mispronouncing that. What do you think of the new features of Instagram? Multi-swipe photo feature. Do you ever just use the tools in Instagram? Probably for editing. But this multi-swipe photo thing, that's a really good question, because now you're talking about posting once or twice a day, but now you can post multiple pictures in that swipe. It's brand new, so maybe you haven't really used it.
I actually love the new multi-swipe thing, because so many times I'll do a photo shoot with someone where it's not necessarily my feed style. Like I do a lot of like more conceptual or like fashion photography with a lot of my friends in Portland and stuff like that, which I'll like post a photo of the shoot, but there's so many photos that I love from the shoot, and so now I can show all those without having it clutter up my feed aesthetic kind of. So I am totally for it.
Okay. I could see a really cool thing where you post the photo and then here's a behind the scenes, or maybe
totally.
Maybe a bit of the process behind
that
it.
That kind of stuff is awesome.
Like literally
also.
behind the photo. They're behind the photo. That's cool.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I haven't done it yet. I haven't posted any multis yet, but I was thinking taking a really wide panorama and slicing it into pieces. So you swipe through and it's just like one long wide panorama.
That could be really
And now I'm going to
cool.
have to do it really quick before everybody else does it. All right, let's see here. Let's see, Rhiannon says, hey, Sonora, just wondering if there's one photo or trip that stands out in your mind as the best photos you've ever taken, or do you find that your favorite photo is just the one you most recently taken? Really cool question, and probably a good opportunity for us to actually look at some photos, which I realize we haven't actually done yet.
Yeah, totally.
So answer that question. I'm going to pull up your pictures.
Yeah, I actually, oftentimes it's, if I do a really good shoot, I'll be like, oh, this is my new favorite shoot or my new favorite photo. But I actually, if I can go to my website really quick, I have one specific photo, which I think is probably my favorite photo I've ever taken.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, let's see. Let me find that real quick. Oops.
So we're just flipping through her website right now. She's looking for the photo. The one.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
See, why are you doing that? Oh, you got it? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Okay, great. Let's pull that up.
All right, so this is a picture of my little sister, and I took it, me and my dad and my sister were kind of just exploring around Eastern Oregon, just driving around and camping, and the night before this, there had been a huge lightning storm, and it was crazy and windy, and then the morning dawned, and everything was just still and calm, and that morning light was coming in, and we were all really sleepy and tired, but really happy with just being where we were and being out in the middle of nowhere by this like lake that we found and had swum in. And I don't know, I just love, it's one of the least posed photos I've ever taken. I think just because she was just packing up her sleeping bag and I had my camera next to me, and so I just pulled it out and just snapped a few pictures, and it just, I don't know, just for me reminds me so strongly of that moment of sleepiness and happiness and having sand in our sleeping bags and just being like grubby but so stoked to be doing what we're doing.
Sure.
And I love how the light matched with the sleeping bag and her hair and all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, it came out really nice. And it is the story behind it, even if you're the only one who knows that story, is such an important part of why you love a particular image. And it may not be somebody else's favorite image, but it's your favorite image. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and look at some of your photos. Let me pull up this page. I'm going to switch back over to here and go right ahead. Oops, that would be the wrong one. There we go. There's the right one.
Sure. Yeah, so this picture was in Scotland in the first week. I went with my best friend, and she was staying for 2 weeks, and I had a one-way ticket when I left last spring for Europe. And we had absolutely no plan whatsoever. And so this was after we had an absolutely harrowing 14-hour bus ride. And then we got to this town, and there was like a motorcycle convention in the town, so there were no vacancies in any of the hotels or B&Bs or hostels or anything. There was nothing. So we had to hike out to a campground, and then there was a storm, and we put the rain fly on inside out and had to, like, everything was soaked in the morning, and it was this whole just crazy moment. But then we were like, okay, it's okay. We, like, figured it out. And so on this day, we were dressed head to toe in waterproof gear, like rain pants, rain jacket, rain shell over our backpack. And we just found this tiny trail that went on the other side of this tiny winding highway up in the Highlands of Scotland, and just clambered and hiked over little waterfalls and up through the hills up to the very, very top. And so this is at a spot on that trail where you could see the weather coming in. From 15 minutes, you could see it was going to be sunny even though it was pouring, and it would just like sweep up the valley. And it was just such a good moment of happiness and peace, and just like, all right, we made it, we're here. We still don't know what we're doing, but we're here.
Nice, that's great. Very cool. All right, grab another one here.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna do this one.
All right.
So this one is in Iceland, and this was, I think, maybe day 3 or 4 of Iceland, and we were just cruising around in the Defender. And so when we were in Iceland, it was the time where there's like it doesn't get dark. The sun just goes below the horizon for like 4 hours and then comes back up, and it was daytime all day long. But this was just one of the sunsets that we had, and it was just like gorgeous, and it was so crazy to be in this place with just like this insane landscape and insane scenery, and then suddenly there was just all this pink light in the sky. So it was just like, we were both just like, how is this real? What the heck? Amazing. So that was just a
super nice. All right, let's see here. Grab up another one here.
Okay. This is another picture of Iceland. This is when it was nice out, we would camp on top of the Defender, and you can see there's like a towel hanging from the door. We had gone to a hot springs before, and it was just, this is like just completely barren camp spot, but we could just stay there. Wow. This is the day I turned 20. Last September I turned 20, and it was kind of, I drove my little car up to the top of this ski mountain that's like near the town I live in, and slept in the back of my car, and then woke up to see the sunrise, and it was just such a beautiful sunrise. And it like, oh man, I don't know, I was like, all right, this is like, how can I make this year be a really happy year, and how can I make this just like, how can I do what I want to do the best way possible? And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start it on top of a mountain watching a sunrise, and hopefully that sets the tone.
Very cool. Now this is a great example. Something I wanted to talk about, I almost forgot, but I'm glad this photo came up. Did you take this photo?
Yeah.
Okay, so your Instagram feed is a lot of photos of yourself, as well as many other things, but there are definitely photos of yourself, and you're shooting photos of yourself. You're doing self-portraits. Some of them selfies, because selfies you think of, phones like this. These aren't selfies. How do you go about doing that? And I know that you have a video on YouTube, and so we'll direct people to that, to look at her YouTube channel. She has an entire video on how she does these, but just very briefly, without giving away the whole video, how is it that you're doing that? Especially
basically,
now that you have a Canon.
Yeah, now that I have a Canon, it's been a learning curve, but basically just a lot of trial and error and self-timer. Like, I have a tripod, but it doesn't really work very well. One of the legs is, like, broken. So usually I'll be like, okay, how can I set my camera up on my car and prop it up with, like, this book I have in the back to get the angle, and then, like, focus it. Okay, gotta focus it so I'm in and I'll just, like, figure that out, and then just, like...
I don't know why she switched to Canon. This is so much easier with your Sony.
It was so much easier. It was... I would literally would have my phone and be like, okay, focus on me, and let's bring down the exposure a bit. Okay, there we go. Yeah, honestly.
This Canon relationship's not going to last. I can see it already.
Well, I mean, I love it. It's great. It's great for what it does. It's just like it's kind of like a grandpa camera.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, like that. It's kind of like a grandpa camera.
It does what it knows its stuff well, but it's just not up on all the things the kids are
Latest
doing.
trends.
Yeah, like it's got a great full beard. You're like really impressed.
Wait a minute.
It's like...
Wow, now you see where this is going.
No, I love the Canon. But it's definitely not as like technology, little fun gadgety things as like the Sony.
Yeah,
but
is
for
true.
like the quality and the tones that it has, it is like the love of my life for those reasons.
Alrighty. Okay. All right, we're going to go through a few more of these questions here.
Yeah.
And then I do want to take a look at your YouTube page. We'll pull that
Totally.
up. Let's see here. Jordan Boyd, who's a local here, says, love to connect with you if you have time around Southern Oregon, which isn't going to be long, Jordan, because she's getting ready to leave. So
I have basically no time
there you go.
until
There's
I
the
leave.
answer to that question. Sorry,
I'm
buddy.
leaving tomorrow, and then I'm just like, my friends from Wales are coming, so I'm taking them on a tour of Eastern Oregon, and then going up to Portland, and then coming back down and getting my stuff, and
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
crazy
Times for sure. Okay, Jordan Kimmons says, it seems most big adventure Instagram pages use similar presets and edits. And that's something we looked at, we saw here, similar tones throughout. We're looking at one of those pages. Some say that although the photos are aesthetic, they lose some of those unique qualities as the pages blend together. How important do you think it is that your edits stand out from the rest? That's interesting. So I guess there really are two sides to that. I mean, I look at someone's page their Instagram page where there is a very consistent look to it, and it's that's from that person. And when you're going through your feed, you see a picture, you go, oh, that's Sonora's picture. I know that because that is a familiar look. I don't even have to look at the name. And I think that's probably the value in it. That's probably the real value in it.
Yeah, I'd say definitely. But like even like I have, as I said, I have a lot of friends who like sell their presets, and even with that, I'll see photos that other people take and apply the same exact presets to, and you can instantly tell that it's not that photographer because the photographer will have like their style of framing and shooting and like all of that stuff that goes along with the preset that they created for their own work, which is like its own individual thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me personally, and of course when it comes to Instagram feeds, I'm the last person you should listen to because mine's like this big, but a consistent look is important, but for me personally, it's more important across a project than it is across my entire feed. Like the pictures that I did in Mexico. I chose a look and tweak that a little bit for each photo to make it obviously work for that photo. But I chose a consistent look. When you look at them as a series, they clearly belong in a series. But then when I do the next project, whatever that is, it'll have a completely different look.
Yeah, totally.
And that's me. That's just me.
Yeah, I definitely like having just kind of a it gives them a mood kind of, or like whatever it is. Like if I shoot a bunch of photos in the desert, then I'll kind of edit all of those the same way and they'll all look like, you don't want to have one look really different than the other ones, or at least I don't. I like them to be like smooth and nice.
There you go. Okay, goodness. Okay, we are. Oh, good. We're coming. Not good, but we are coming to the end of some of the questions on here, so we can we do the YouTube thing and then jump off before it's like a 3-hour show. No one wants to watch. Jasmine is asking, where does the name Mindling-Werling come from? It sounds interesting, and I always ask myself how it's built up. Is it a mix between your mom's and dad's name?
Yeah, it's so my mom's name is Rachel Werling and my dad's name is Eric Mindling, and they got married and had me, and my mom being like the feminist that she is, she was like, I am not, like, we're having my name in there also, and then they were like, okay, well, the order, and they couldn't decide, so they just did it alphabetically
really?
The order of the last name. So it's just my parents' last names hyphenated.
There you go. Nice and easy. Beautiful shot from Iceland. Thank you, Blacken. Let's see here. Maybe just develop. West Dreg is saying maybe just develop a prompt for companies that want free advertising, like a reply, probably me like a canned reply, just people looking for free advertising. Thank you very much. But copy and paste that in there.
I have one.
Yeah, good. All right, cool. Talking about app-based triggers. Yeah, triggering from your phone is definitely the way to go. Burns Texas, I came in on a grandpa camera. Yeah, well, there you go. And Sophia is asking how tall you are. She answered that earlier. You're going to have to go back to the beginning and watch it to find out the answer to that. And Yasmin says, do you think everything is possible to achieve through exercising, like drawing, taking photos, etc.? And do you think everyone is able to achieve their goals? That's a pretty big world kind of question. Can everybody achieve their goals just by trying harder?
I really think that they can. I think it's all just the amount of effort and the amount of energy you put into it and how smartly you go about it and how much you just like try and work hard at it. Like the people who I know on Instagram, who like Sam Elkins and Andrew Kearns, they have like thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and they work harder than anyone I've ever seen in my life. Like they are constantly working. Like they'll stay up all night editing and then wake up in the morning to shoot sunrise. Like I think when I was traveling with Sam Elkins, he had like shot 20 something sunrises in a row. Like they're crazy driven. They're super just into what they're doing, and they are like, Sam Elkins is definitely one of my biggest inspirations. He just turned 20 when we were in New Zealand, but he like at 19 is like traveling all around the world and getting it like 4 jobs, like getting these huge jobs with companies and all this cool stuff. So he's like really killing it and working super hard at it. So
no, that is obviously a very important part of it, working super hard. And I think I would expand on that by just saying that it's important that you work really, really hard and you just keep going for it. But success doesn't necessarily mean this one goal that you set for yourself 10 years in the past. And if you say, if I don't hit 1 million followers, I'm not a success, that's ridiculous. You can't set these goals that are potentially unattainable, but more importantly, that you're just going to be shattered if you don't get to. Success comes in many, many different ways, and ultimately, as long as you're happy and enjoying what you're doing, that's all that matters. That's what really matters. Definitely. But if you set these finite goals, I have to have this many followers, have to make this much money, have to own this camera, and like this kind of thing, it's just, you're setting yourself up. I don't want to say setting yourself up for failure, because you may very well achieve those goals, but you're not going to get there if you're not busting your ass like all these people you're talking about. You absolutely have to do that. But if the goal needs to be something that is not this super hard line in the sand, measurable by 1,000 quantities, it's just, you got to have a goal that is something that's a bit more personal and means something more to you.
So it's got to come from within, not from without.
Yeah, absolutely. If your goal is to travel the world, well, traveling the world can mean a lot of things. You can travel the world for almost, well, I would say no money, but for very, very little money if you're willing to stay in hostels, backpack, hitchhike, do all those crazy, fly in the cheapest airfare, fly in the back of the bus. But if you want to travel the world and stay in 5-star hotels and fly first class, well, there's a slightly different financial need for that. Definitely. And if that's your goal, then great. But if your goal is to travel the world, you may not be doing it first class, but you're still traveling the world. And that's pretty important. That's really important. Okay, let's pull up your YouTube page, and then we are going to call it. This has been really fun, really good. Let's see here. Where is YouTube? And tell people where to find you on YouTube while I actually punch that in and find it.
On YouTube, if you just look up Sonora Mindling-Werling or just Sonora TMW or Sonora MW, I think that most of my YouTube videos should come up.
Here we go. And this is her page.
There it is.
There you go. So almost 10,000 subscribers on there. That's great. And you see stories like, okay, here's one I was talking about before, the how I do the self-portraits.
Yeah.
And look, they got an ad for a mirrorless camera on there. We're going to play those. My life story, Q&A, what really happens in Andrew's Prius, New Zealand day one, my mind was blown. So a lot of different.
Yeah, so I have like all my vlogs on there, and then a few tutorial videos, and some Q&As, just all kinds of stuff, really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Good variety in there. So yeah, do check that out. Oh, and look, there's a little, I'm doing the live interview just before.
Yeah.
Look, it's me. Excellent. Well, there you go. Cool. So do check out her YouTube page, and obviously check out her Instagram as well. Lots of good, inspiring photos in there, and good stories behind a lot of the photos here on YouTube. Are you doing much video on Instagram, or are you sticking the photos on there?
Mainly photos on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. You do the what is it called? The stories?
Stories, yeah.
You do stories, yeah.
I do stories like every single day.
Oh, do you? Okay. How has that played into things? Do you find that to be any additional benefit to the photos, or just kind of a fun extra thing to do?
I think definitely I've done a few live streams, and I always have a really, really fun time doing that, because I get to like actually talk with all my followers, because like if someone comments on my photos, I'll like read through them, but I'm getting just like comments in all the time, and so it's hard to keep track. But on live stream, I can actually be like, oh, hello, someone from Brazil, or someone from Sweden, or like all these other things. Yeah, exactly. And I get to like, they get to ask me questions, and it's just like this, like more of a personal connection kind of, which I really, really like. So yeah, I have fun doing live streams and stories, and just like sharing the non-photogenic details of my life, because most of the time I'm just like either like driving or like at my house drawing and listening to an audiobook, or just like all of these little things which are behind the photos.
Sure. Super. Very cool. Right on. Well, thanks again so much for coming on.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all who are watching live and commenting live. It's fantastic. Obviously, this video will stay up on YouTube. And for all of you who didn't get to see it live, we'll post your comments in there. We'll make sure that she sees it. Can't guarantee she's going to respond to them because busy girl here, traveling all over the place. But I'm sure she'll make an effort to take a look at them. Also, be sure to follow her on Instagram. Just shout out your Instagram. We're going to put all these links down below as well. But real quick, again, Instagram handle is
Sonora TMW.
And same thing, punch that into YouTube and you're going to find that there as well. And what about your website? Was that also Sonora TMW?
It's sonoramw.com.
Sonora MW. Okay, so just drop the T.
Yeah.
SonoraMW.com for the website. Very good. Well, super. Thanks again for coming on. Thanks to all of you for coming out and joining us today. This is a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned a thing or two. I know I learned something. I got to check out that social blue book thing. That looks incredible.
Totally.
Find out what I'm really... And maybe I don't want to know what I'm worth. Maybe this is a bad idea. I don't know. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.